working on the Benjamin Moore line to add to their paints at West Side Decorating Center. Stop in, visit them today. And a good morning to you. Welcome to hour number 2 of the Art Lewis Show here on WSGW. We're going to learn about a project this morning called River Jordan. And returning for another visit, we say Elaine Stamps. Good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
And with him this morning is a young lady named Emily. Emily, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for being with us. So, Elaine, let's start with an overview of River Jordan, what it is and how it came about.
Yeah, so River Jordan, we provide transitional housing support and wraparound services for youth that age out of foster care. And it came about, well, we started in 2017, and it came about, from my passion for this work because I aged out of foster care myself, when I was 19 years old, and I aged out into homelessness and was on the streets and, started doing drugs and all that kind of stuff. And just
funny how life directs your future.
Yep. And later on in life, when I got in recovery, I thought that I wanted to come back and help those that are aging out of foster care, going through foster care, because I didn't want them to wake up like me at 40 years old and say, something needs to change,
So River Jordan, was it established or did you create it?
I created it. Yep. I started it from the ground up, 2017, and we opened our doors in 2018.
So what do you provide to a young Emily?
So we provide housing support. We'll talk about that, housing support. So when youth age out of foster care, instead of going to homeless shelters, which Emily was kind of in danger of going to, we provide a safety net for them, a safe place to be and learn how to live on their own.
I have to ask this. I know it's Emily's story, but you say age out of foster care.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been one, but if I were a foster parent, and I had a young person in my home for any length of time, I would have trouble when they turn 18 saying, get out. Yeah. What am I missing?
There's a few reasons why that could happen. There's a lot of reasons, but a few just comes to mind. There could be a broken relationship between the foster.
I can understand that one.
It could be that the foster parent wants to move on and help someone else. There could also be the payment stop.
Yeah, and I hate to think that's a reason, but
the payment stop, and maybe they don't have the budget to continue, with someone without those payments. But yeah.
So Emily. And Emily's here, and I assume that she's willing to talk about her story.
Yeah.
Of course.
All right. So, Emily, you turned 18.
Yes.
What does your foster family say to you?
They pretty much told me to get out, find a place to live, or they're going to take me to a homeless shelter on my 18th birthday.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, what did you do?
I did a lot. It started out just dating boys when they didn't want me to date, and then those boys turned into.
Yeah, well, I don't mean what you did to maybe trigger it. I understand that there can be issues. What did you do once they told you have to leave?
I came here to River Jordan.
Did you know about River Jordan?
I kind of knew about it because my CPS worker found it, and then they told me about it.
And then you went, and now where are you living now? At River Jordan?
Mm-hmm.
And Elaine, is that a typical story?
Yeah, it's typical. The thing about this art is that they're not really going through a lot more than any other typical teenager,
Well, except that you have a home is yours.
Right. But what I mean is she just talked about her dating boys that, that the parents didn't approve of. And I think that's a lot of teenagers,
Yeah.
So I won't get into because I have feelings about what happened, and I don't think it should have went the way it did. But I'm glad she found us, and
there's usually backstories to almost all of these.
Yeah, it's backstories, but not many of them at all have I heard a story where kicking a youth out after they turn 18 was justified, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Is
that because the foster care system needs reevaluation? Is it broken?
And it is broken, but it's actually under reevaluation. A lot of people in Lansing that are, they're trying to restructure, how they approach services and stuff like that. They're going through a whole transformation.
It used to be said that a lot of the youngsters in foster care fall between the cracks. Is that still true?
That's true. Yeah. There's a few reasons for that. The older that you get, the older that you are, I should say, and you're coming into care, the harder it is to be placed in a foster home, because foster parents typically like to foster kids that are under 8 years old, young ones. And so they kind of stay away from the teenagers, and the teenagers end up going to residential facilities, and that's where the age out,
Emily, let me ask you, how long were you in foster care?
I was in foster care since I was 1.
Since you were 1?
Since I was 1 years old, along with my 3 other siblings.
How many foster homes were you in? Out of curiosity.
I think 2.
That's all?
Yeah.
Oh, you were lucky then in that way.
I was lucky, yeah.
And your siblings, where are they today?
One of my siblings is still with my foster parents, and the other 2 are just out on their own, doing their own thing.
1 year old. So 17 years in the foster care system.
Yeah.
So you never knew what it was like to have a permanent family.
No.
Common story, Island?
Yeah, that's pretty common. Yeah,
That's
because when
heart-wrenching.
someone leaves foster care, it's really they cut ties. That's how it is most of the time. They cut ties. And
Imagine that, living in someone's home. They took care of you. They fed you. They clothed you. They did everything they were supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then, goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now, I will tell you that I've known biological families that have done that to the youngsters.
Right.
But it was a teaching tool to teach them they had to be out on their own.
Mm-hmm.
But that family was there as a backup.
Yeah.
It's different.
It is.
Very. All right, we're going to take a break, and we will be back with our guests talking more about River Jordan and life after foster care.
We're proud to make
can't serve youth, and we're getting a couple calls a week from youth that are aging out of foster care or coming up on 18.
You're funded 15% by grants.
Yeah, grants and small little contracts with the state of Michigan, and those are just like trainings that they'll have us do for transition age foster youth in their groups.
So what do you do to raise funds?
Well, we have a Forever Family program where you can donate, $25 a month, $50 a month, $100 a month. It just comes right out of your account, So if you could sacrifice a cup of coffee once a week, that give us $25, for the month, and you get enough people doing that, that really helps us with operations. So other things that we have is just community fundraisers, like we're having a car show / picnic on the 21st of June. So we're going to be doing that, and if people can come out to that and show some support, that's going to be in Midland. So there'll be flyers on our website and on Facebook. So we'll be doing that. Any kind of fundraiser, if we'll have, spaghetti dinner fundraiser. If you see something like that, get the family over there. All of that helps. We have room sponsors, at $4,500 a year. But then you get a plaque on the room. You get on our donor wall. You're helping 2 kids a year because it's about an average of 12 months.
And typically, a youngster comes out of foster care and comes to you.
Mm-hmm.
How long is that youngster typically with you?
Typically, they're with us anywhere from 12 to 18 months. That's the length of our program. That's normal. But we've had kids in there for 2 years just because they're scared to leave, So we have to kind of coach them to get out there. But the good thing about our program is once you leave, if it didn't work out, while you're out there and you're trying to, make it on your own, you can always come back and try it again, So it's not, it's not like you came in the program one time and then you can't come back, because that's not life. Life happens and life shows up in ways we don't expect, and we want to be there for them when that happens.
Do you get many youngsters like Emily that have her future planned out in terms of her going for forensic science at
Not typically. We work on those kind of goals once they get in, because you got to remember, when they're coming out of foster care, their mind is everywhere. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of things that they don't feel that they could do, that they're highly capable of, but they don't have the confidence to do those things. So we work on that with them and help them with their plan of independence.
I assume, Emily, and it may be a bad word, but I'm assuming because you were accepted into Ferris, into this program, and you got a scholarship, you did fairly well in high school?
I did very well in high school. I was homeschooled, though.
Even with the foster system?
Yes, they homeschooled us. They
No
didn't want
kidding.
us in public school. They were afraid that our birth family was going to find us.
Really?
Yes.
So they did a good job homeschooling you?
We were self-taught homeschooling. They didn't teach us. We taught ourselves.
Really?
Yes.
How do you do? Well, the story gets deeper all the time, doesn't it? Aileen?
It does.
Yeah.
So-
A lot of moving parts in Emily's story.
So when you applied to Ferris, what did they say? When they're looking at you, don't have a record of any kind, do you?
They do. We do transcripts. Just
You
like
do
every-
really?
Yeah, we do it through like a government
Well,
site.
when you say they, who is it? Who's doing the teaching then?
My mom, she just has our.
Okay,
not
so
my
she
mom,
did.
but
She did the administrative part of it.
yeah, we just did the teaching ourselves, everything.
That's unbelievable.
I used to teach my baby sister school. I was kind of her teacher. I would help her every day.
Wow. I mean, that's. I'm just having trouble processing this story. What it must be like for you, Emily.
It was hard.
So, you looking forward to your future?
Yes.
It's a different lifestyle, won't it?
Mhm.
But you're on your own.
Yep.
I have a feeling, Elaine, that she can make it.
Oh, she's gonna make it. She's gonna make it. I have a lot of faith in her, and she's come a long way. Her first 30 days was a little rough, just trying to figure stuff out and and stuff like that. And you're on your own for the first time. Nothing uncommon for a teenager, but she had to deal with some other things too. And but she's getting over the hump, and she's learning, and I'm proud of her. She got a job.
You have a job?
Yeah. I work at Applebee's.
You work at Applebee's?
Uh-huh.
Which one?
Other one in Bay City.
Ah, well, very good.
I'm a hostess.
Excellent. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's part of the plan. When they come in, we're helping them, with employment and stuff like that. We want to get them working, So the first 60 days, that's one of our main goals, is to get them working and get them back into the mental health services that they need to have, because without your mind being right, you can't hold a job, and and that's traumatizing coming out of foster care.
Let me ask, what's it going to take to open up the other 8 beds?
65,000.
Wow.
Yep, 65,000. It's kind of a heavy lift, but we have faith that the community can come through and help us get those beds open.
Where are you located?
We are located, our office is located at 3442 Kiesel Road, and we also have a 3-bedroom house on that same property. And then we have our 8-bedroom house, which is at 706 5th Street, is on the other side of town.
So you're in Bay City.
Yeah, we're in Bay City.
What, do you cover more than Bay City, though?
Nope. We cover 9 counties.
Yeah, that's more than Bay City.
Yep, Great Lakes Bay region. Yep. So we take kids from all of the 9 counties in the
When
region.
you have the beds for it.
Yeah, when we have the beds for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a break, and we will be back with our guests as we talk about River Jordan.
Hi, this
Yeah.
And she was in foster care?
Yeah.
Were all of your siblings in foster care?
Yeah. All of us were.
And she's still in?
She's still in foster care, yeah.
Yeah. And when are you ready to start Ferris?
Not this fall, but next fall.
A year and a half from now?
Yeah.
So you'll put together some money and get yourself ready?
Yep, for sure. I'm excited.
Well, then you should be. I mean, it's the start of, really when you think about it, this is the start of a new life for you. It really is.
For sure. And I'm going to make it a better life than I had before, definitely.
Well, sometimes the school of hard knocks is the best teacher.
I know that's
Isn't
right.
that-
I know that's right.
Well, I mean, you have a story.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've got your own story, Elaine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And School of Hard Knocks was the best teacher, right?
Yeah. Yep. It's been a long journey for me, and it's not over. I got big plans for River Jordan. We want to extend our services outside of the 9 counties and, have other homes in other places. And
But
stuff
one step
like
at a
that.
time. First, you got to reopen your 8 beds.
Yes, exactly.
Do you have a website?
Yes, we have. It's riverjordaninc.com. And there's a lot of interaction, too, on Facebook. We post a lot of videos, informative videos, teaching videos, all kinds of things on Facebook. So it's just River Jordan Inc., if you search on Facebook, yeah.
And is there a way of donating online?
Yep. You can donate right online. Go to our website. The donate button is right there on the front page in a couple places. And you can donate, you can be a monthly donor, recurring donor. You can donate any amount monthly. All you got to do is select the setting for automatic monthly. So, and you can donate any one-time amount too.
So when the youngsters come to you, they're fresh out of foster care. Many of them, like Emily, never knew anything else. What's the process when they come to you? What do you do to interact with them and get them on the right path?
So when they come to us, the first thing that we do is we do a needs assessment. So we got to figure out what they need, all the way from hygiene products to clothes to, whatever they need. And then we do a biopsychosocial. We do a goals sheet where we talk about the first 30-day goals that they have. They're on a curfew for the first 30 days. We don't want them moving too much around, We want them to get comfortable with their environment and stuff like that, and it gives us a chance to kind of see how they move. So curfew is at midnight, and then after that the curfew is lifted. But if they come in with a job already, then they don't come in with a curfew. So we do all of those different kind of assessments, and then we do a 60-day or 30-day follow-up to see if we've met those 30-day goals, and then we set new ones, and then we do a 60-day, and then we set new ones, and then we do a 90-day. So we're always constantly, creating small little goals. We do peer support also, where foster care alumni that has successfully transitioned out on their own, and they help them. They help the ones that are still struggling and trying to get self-sufficient. So we give them that peer support. And then, just other wraparound services that we do.
You stay in touch with them when they leave?
Yeah. Yeah. So our tag is that we're the forever family. You know, it's kind of what we say in our organization. We never go anywhere. So it doesn't matter how old you are. You know, you can come walking through those doors if you were in foster care before, and you can get some kind of services from us. You may not be eligible for the housing piece because that's reserved for those 18 to 21, but you'll always be able to get some kind of help. If you come through and say, hey, I don't have any hygiene, you know, I'm struggling here, we have a pantry there of people that donate hygiene products. We'll give them a basket. Or if they say, hey, I don't have no food, then we can take them to food banks. And, you know, we always want to be there for them. We invite them to certain events, fundraisers, and things like that. We always want to be in contact with them.
All right, we'll take our last break, come back with one more segment with our guest today as we talk about River Jordan. Take me out to Back with you on the Art Lewis Show, talking to Elan Stamps. He runs River Jordan, a program for youth coming out of the foster care program. And Emily is with us. She is one of those youth. When did you decide, Emily, on forensic science as your future?
When I was 8 years old.
Wow, really?
Yes.
What led you to forensic science, I have to ask?
Actually the show CSI.
No kidding.
Yeah. I was obsessed with Grissom.
No, and that's really, we forget sometimes how those shows can motivate people.
They do, very much.
The other show, NCIS, where Paulie Perrette had the Abby Shuto character was a forensic scientist.
I love her so much.
Well, because she is one. She studied forensic science in college. It's a great field.
Oh, she actually studied. Okay.
Yeah. Paulie Perrette had actually studied forensic science.
She did.
Okay. Wow.
So, what do you want to do in the future? Like state police lab or independent lab or?
I want to work for the FBI.
Oh, let's go to the top.
Yeah.
Why not? Listen, they got the best lab in the world.
That's true.
Yeah. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Well, you'll need good grades, so make sure you mind your P's and Q's.
Oh, definitely.
So isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you want to do, Elaine, when you were that age?
I wanted to be a DJ, actually. I wanted to spin records. You know, that was a big thing when I was coming up in the 70s. I wanted to spin records and just meet artists and just be a part of that. But I just wanted to be the guy I looked up to. His name was the Electrifying Mojo, and he was a Detroit DJ, and I just looked up to him, and he was this mysterious DJ that nobody could ever see. Like he never did pictures or anything. But yeah, he was like that. But that's what I wanted to be. But God had something different for me planned, and I'm glad to be here doing what I do.
So what was that God's plan? What happened to you?
Well, I aged out into homelessness.
So you were in a foster care home?
Yep, I was in I was in 20 different placements in group homes. Yeah, 20. Yep. And then I aged out into homelessness. Now I did play a role in that.
I was going to ask.
I played a role.
Your behavior
had something to do with it. I was an angry kid, and so I aged out into homelessness, and I got on some really hard drugs, and I just started doing things, that I needed to do to supply that drug habit, and that landed me in prison.
I find it interesting. Sad but interesting. The people who are best equipped to help the future generation avoid the mistakes are the ones who have made the mistakes.
Right. Ain't that something?
Because you understand it.
Yeah.
You understand it better than anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And so why River Jordan? I mean, you were a product of that type of situation, but it's a long way from starting up a nonprofit.
Well, I just thought, when I changed my life, I was around 40 years old, and I just thought, I really don't want to see these kids waking up at 40 years old and realize that they've blown so many great opportunities. All right, I've blown so many good opportunities, and I didn't want to see these kids go through that, and they're being on drugs and all that kind of stuff. And if I had some people in my life or a transitional housing program like this when I was coming out, my life would have been different.
Yeah.
So that's why I created this whole transitional housing program, with the program elements that's in it, because I felt like that's what we needed.
Safe to say you didn't have a role model or a mentor?
No, not when I left foster care. When I left foster care,
you were out.
I was out on my own. I actually walked with my bags to the Department of Health and Human Services to apply for food stamps that morning. My worker didn't even give me a ride, and she worked at the DHS office, so, and I was homeless in the Cass Corridor in Detroit.
Oh.
Yeah. So I walked down the DHS in the Cass Corridor, and I got into the homeless shelters, and I paired up with some guys that were like 10, 15 years older than me. And I started walking around with them, and, they started, getting me to do certain things and that they wouldn't do. And I just want to feel accepted, and I wanted to feel loved, so I would do it,
They trafficked you in a different way.
In a different way. And for the women, it's usually when they age out of foster care, it's usually like, survival sex, which is trafficking. It's the same thing, just a fancy word. So, they engage in those kind of things, and it's usually with a much older person, or they just, they get sex trafficked,
Emily, are you beyond that now?
Yes, definitely.
Learned your lessons?
I definitely learned my lessons, for sure, about that stuff, yes.
Well, Elaine, again, tell everybody the website where they can make a donation.
Yep, so the website is riverjordaninc.com, and our phone number is 989-391-4046, or you can contact us by email. That's admin@riverjordaninc.org.
And Emily, keep your head on straight.
Yes.
You're a
yes,
pretty
sir.
young girl. Life, I think, has good things in store for you. Take advantage of them when you find them.
Definitely.
Elaine, thank you. We'll do it again.
All right, thanks, Art.
Elaine Stamps, and River Jordan is the organization. We will take our last break and close out.
Rocket Grab Plus.
All right, that'll do it for the Art Lewis Show for today. We'll be back tomorrow with lots more. Stick around. We're going to talk about the YMCA after the news on Focus. I'm Art Lewis. Talk to you then.
Broadcasting from the Stormmaster exterior